Hello everybody and welcome back to Punting Pioneer. I'm Corbin Hosler, as always with cool stuff. And this is a deck that does exist and is probably pretty good. But the real question is, should it exist? Just because you can, does that mean you should? Just because you can play a competitive deck with 30 lands in it, literal half lands, we've come a long way from 20 lands, 20 spells, 20 creatures. 30 lands in this ramp deck here that is full of standard cards. And the Brainstorm Brewery preview card, Escape to the Wilds, I might add. I have to say, this is a wild ramp deck here that posted a solid finish recently. It's nothing special. Look, it's an Omnath deck, but it's so clean. And I saw 30 lands. You know, we've seen 27 back, 5, 6, 7 years ago in control decks. 28, 29 in these ramp decks, but now 30 lands in a deck, and I figure why not? Because I saw my preview card here, Escape to the Wilds, which we did a really fun video for on the Brainstorm Brewery YouTube channel if you want to go check that out. Throne of Eldraine preview. But let's do it, right? What are we doing? We're ramping. Sylvan Caryatid, Uro, you know what that one does. Omnath ramps if it's your second land. Escape to the Wilds, I guess technically ramps. You can play an extra land. And of course, Growth Spiral. This is just full of standard cards, right? Taking over Pioneer here, but Growth Spiral is so strong. We've got Teferi, the bane of a whole bunch of formats. It's still here in Pioneer, and Teferi fits very well into the deck. Fae of Wishes, we'll get to in a minute. Radiant Flames is a sweeper. Genesis Ultimatum and Ugin are the big ramp payoffs. Let's talk about Fae of Wishes, because at its core, this is sort of a Wishes deck, which is one of the other reasons I gravitated towards playing it, even though it's, a very straightforward, powerful deck. Fae of Wishes adds some cool nuance to the game. So, what this means is, for 4 mana, you can look into your sideboard and get a non-creature card and put it in your hand. So, what does that mean? We go to our sideboard, and you can see we have plenty to choose from. Tormod's Crypt, Grafdigger's Cage. Those are ways to stop a graveyard. Pithing Needle needs to stop a Planeswalker. 4 silences. This is an interesting one to me. It's got to be for the combo decks, the Balustrade Spy combo decks, because it's the only 4 of in the sideboard. Chain to the Rocks is removal. Damping Sphere comes in. Now let's talk about some of these others. Solemnity. I guess if you really need to stop counters, I'm sure we'll figure out a use for that. 9 lives. Prevent damage. Just kind of basically buys you probably a turn or two. Which, hey, maybe that's relevant. Another Ugin to ramp to Approach of the Second Sun because it's an alternate win condition. I like it. Another Escape to the Wild so you can tutor for ramp. And Felidar Retreat. I put this one in here myself because this card is pretty nutty. And if we're playing 30 lands, I'll put a Felidar Retreat into our sideboard to tutor for. So everybody, 30 land ramp right here. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't know, basically, and this makes sense given how powerful Uro and Omnath are. I don't know that I've ever really played a Mighty Modern or a Punting Pioneer with powerful cards like this and sort of straightforward. But I figured on this holiday weekend, if you're in the United States at least, I saw something fun here, and I figured, you know what, maybe this week I get to be the one with the powerful deck, not fighting uphill. So you know what? I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to spending this time with all of you. Let's get into the games and pick up some wins. All right, welcome in. Here we go, everybody. I actually think this might be a mulligan. There's no white mana. There's no really strong plays early. I'm just going to ship it. Yeah, I mean, this isn't a ton better, I guess, but, well, it's worse, I guess, but at least we have access to all of our colors this way. I think I'd probably ship off the Fabled Passage here. It's probably fine. We are on the we're on the draw, but with Double Triome, we're gonna have access to all of our colors, and let's hope it lasts long enough. Our opponent's playing that deck, I guess. Good to know. Teferi. Okay, so let's see. This one adds white. I guess we'll start with that. See how it goes here. So we know if our opponent is playing the Spy deck, that we're going to want to draw one of those Fae of Wishes so we can get access to our sideboard. Now, I don't actually know if that's what, a Paradise Shroud here means, but I would assume, right? I gotta say, drawing the other Omnath, not ideal. But hopefully this Teferi will get to bounce something relevant. You know, if our opponent doesn't punish us too hard, maybe we get to bounce a Paradise Druid or something. Mono mythic lands over there. Well, here you go, Eldritch Evolution. Let's see what it grabs. And it grabs the Balustrade Spy. Okay, so we've got to be dead now, right? That's how this works. We died on turn 3. Our opponent's playing Yorion. Sure. So there's going to... Well, we're taking 12 from Creeping Chills. I guess we'll find out. Trying to figure out exactly what the win condition is here. Oh. Interesting. Worldspine Worm to shuffle it all back. This is an interest. Now, this is probably par for the course here in Pioneer these days, and I'm just out of touch. But look at this. You shuffle it. You shuffle the Worldspine Worm back in. Now you get all these amalgam triggers and you get a turn to swing with them. That's pretty sick. We're very dead, but at least we know what we want here in game 2. That was, well, I'm glad they got to show off their deck at least. Glad somebody got to use Punting Pioneer to show off a cool deck. I don't think much changes here. The question is, are these things better in our sideboard or in our hand? Basically these two cards, right? Is this good? This is good to wish for. Because they wouldn't have enough to kill us in theory? With the attack? And then they deck? It's possible. I'm just going to keep it as it is and rely on the wish board, right? I think that's reasonable. Now, for a, you know, maybe you can play fewer silver bullets in the sideboard and go for some redundancy on some of these effects. This hand looks much better. I say that. It's not great. It's in need of some help here, but it's got some ramp at least. We need to draw land. And it's also got the Fae of Wishes, which is also very key. So, if we get lucky and we hit an untapped land here on turn 2, we can play a Sylvan Caryatid or a Growth Spiral or whatever we want. And if not, well, that's unfortunate, honestly. But it is a 30 land deck, and we got there. So I'm actually going to go with the Growth Spiral here, I think. Because that allows us to put the Clifftop Retreat into play. No, I'm going to go with the Sylvan Caryatid. Next turn I can play the Clifftop Retreat tapped, but also play Teferi, if that's what we want to do here. And, you know, I guess Teferi won't be doing anything to that Druid, unfortunately, so... Well, look at that. Now we actually don't have to put it into play tapped. The problem is we probably still just died to a turn 3 Eldritch Evolution, right? I don't think I can stop that. This costs 4 to grant it, so I can grant it next turn. Wait, I can grant it for a Tormod's Crypt. We're okay. Alright, it all checks out. We found the line. Wow, it's crazy. We had to have this on turn 3, or we would have probably just died again. As it stands now, I don't actually know what that means for my opponent, right? Could they Eldritch Evolution into something else? I mean, do we die anyways? I don't know. Well, they just have the Rex Sage, so fair enough. I can bounce the Paradise Druid if I want. Yeah, let's go ahead and bounce the Paradise Druid. See what we hit. Oh, we hit a land, okay. And now I can play another Sylvan Caryatid and pass the turn. So, next turn we can play the Fae of Wishes. In theory, we can actually play and pick up the Fae of Wishes. So we just have to hope to not die, basically, in the meantime. Our opponent's going to take a big ol' whiff on this Pelakka Predation, though. They do not hit. It has to be CMC 3 or greater. So we're not dead. This is all looking pretty good for us. And there is a payoff card. I count 7 mana. Let's see if I can make the right colors. Oh my gosh, I get to cast it as though it had flash. Alright, surely I can do this, right? 3 blue. Blue, blue, blue. Red, red. Green, green. Easy life. Wow. Instant speed Genesis Ultimatum coming up. Let's see what our opponent does to us. Okay, well, we have to think. Does Instant Speed Genesis Ultimatum do anything here? I don't think anything else does. I don't know if the game's over, though. They put us to 6 with the triggers. It just... I mean, it's conceivable we could hit enough off the Genesis Ultimatum that we could then be able to do something. I don't know, we'll see. I can also hit a board wipe. There's an Assassin's Trophy in there. Because if they don't have a way to discard this, if I can survive an attack, in theory I'm alive, right? So if I hit... What is going on? Alright, so if I hit enough value off of the Genesis Ultimatum, then in theory I could maybe even, like, play Fae of Wishes. Pick it up, do something? Maybe not. It's quite a bit of mana we're asking for. But let's see what happens. It is certainly a lot of triggers. What? Oh, the amalgams don't come back to my end step, which I guess doesn't matter that much, but okay. Blue, 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 green, green. Let's cast it into Speed Genesis Ultimate. Oh my gosh. 5 lands, you say, huh? Well, I guess we're going to find out if we can... what we can do with our Fae of Wishes. 5 lands is what we hit. Okay. Oh, I can actually Growth Spiral, though. That's nice. Okay. Wow. Alright. Well, we have plenty of mana to work with now, don't we? I don't think the Omnath is good enough. I think we do this. Play the Fae of Wishes. Alright. Time to pick up the Fae of Wishes by discarding these 2 cards. Now we can play Granted. And we have access to 5 mana to get something here. So, what does our 5 mana get that beats a bunch of things attacking us? Grafdigger's Cage? Then I take 5 and I don't die, but they have 2 cards in their library. I could get the 9 lives. Huh. That's an interesting position. I have 5 mana right now. I can take the Grafdigger's Cage. The problem is, taking the Grafdigger's Cage... Oh, I'm going to have the Granted blocker. Okay. Well, that depends. If I got Grafdigger's Cage, I could then also play Fae of Wishes and have a blocker. So they wouldn't have the 3/3s. They would then just have the board, which is a 2/3 flyer and 3 3/1s. I could double chump block if I have the... Yeah, I could double chump block with Sylvan Caryatids when my opponent's at 1. I could actually take one of these out. Go down to 4. And then after that happens, I'm at 4. They have 2 3/1s. It's this, so I would need to... Have I activated Teferi this turn? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out if I've activated Teferi. I haven't, because I minus and then I plus, and that's so I can actually then use Teferi to bounce one of those things next turn. So I think this line works. Now, alternatively, I could just get the 9 lives here. Oh, the 9 lives combos with Solemnity. That's how that works, obviously. So then my opponent's going to have 8 sources to deal me damage, which that doesn't kill me. So, alright, I think the line is going to be Grafdigger's Cage plus play the Fae of Wishes. Then we can bounce. I think we go down to not dead. We can bounce something with Teferi, have 2 cards in hand to then go get like the 9 lives, and we're just trying to deck our opponent. It's possible, I know, and they have cards in hand too, so none of this might work out, but after a lot of talking, I do think this is the best line. So this is what we're going to do. Remember to activate Teferi here. Alright, well, let's pass the turn and see what happens. I mean, our opponent probably... Oh my gosh, alright, it's a lot of triggers. I'll yield to all of them doing nothing. Our opponent might still have us here, though, right? That has to be said, unfortunately, for us. And the thing is, we have to survive this turn and the next. I mean, it is a tall order, but the Fae of Wishes is actually the perfect blocker here. It's not like my opponent even wants to sack these to draw a card. So, you know, double chump block, take 1 out, take 2, go to 4. Bounce 1, block 1, take 2, go to 2. You know, our opponent has those 5 cards in their hand and the 1 card in their library, which is probably the World Spine Worm. Those cards have to beat us because as the board sits currently, we have it. So, obviously, what that unfortunately means is that our opponent definitely has the answer. Let's see if we have any outs. We're going to double chump block and go to 1. Well, we do, I guess. The answer is probably just drawing Uro. Radiant Flames also gets there. Alright, we're far from dead. Take blue, in case we need it for Uro. And I'm going to get 2 shots at it if my opponent chooses to go at me, so... And they're actually sending... Yeah, this makes the most sense. Send the Spy at Teferi, these 3 at me. Because I still have to chump block, double chump block, so... This is the correct attack for my opponent. I'm still dead next turn, but I'm not going to get a free card off of Teferi here. That said, I do get 1 draw step at this. It's on the table for us. Fingers crossed. Can we get lucky? It's an Uro! That is exactly what we were looking for. That or the Radiant Flames, I guess, but Uro is right up there because we get to draw cards. We get a game live. I mean, this card's insane, right? No, I won't do that. All right, let's escape this thing. Oh no, my Grafdigger's Cage! My own Grafdigger's Cage is in play! That's hilarious, actually. Alright, what did we do here, though? We got there regardless, by the way. We get the Radiant Flames to take care of things. That's funny. That is pretty funny. Okay, so... I've played 3 colors. That'll deal 3 damage. Alright, works for me. We did it! Alright, well, we didn't quite get there. We had to play Uro no matter what. We just couldn't escape it, obviously. But we were able to take a game. Uro was still the perfect top deck because it drew us into the Brainstorm Brewery preview card, Escape from the Wilds, which then hit us that Radiant Flames. That was a pretty fun one. Now, I don't know what our hopes are going to be like for Game 3 here, but I did enjoy that one, I have to say. I had fun, regardless of how the third one goes. That's crazy how explosive that build of the deck can be. Now, you can see they comboed us, and they lost, right? That's not how some builds of the deck will work, but it is an interesting build our opponent has over there. Also a Yorion, amount of cards at the same time. So it's an interesting way to play the deck, and it can do some silly stuff on turn 3. You know, essentially win the game anyway. Now, I guess we keep this. This hand feels pretty iffy, but it's got an Uro. I don't know. Maybe we'll draw a Growth Spiral or something. It just has all of our colors, and has Uro, you know, and has Omnath now. I don't know. We'll see what happens, right? This is a matchup where even our interaction with our opponent is slow because we basically have to go for the wish. There's no just counter spells on our sideboard. That's a nice draw, by the way. We don't really have any sort of like we don't have 4 Grafdigger's Cages to sideboard into our main deck and just try to draw them in our opening hand and mulligan to them and win that way. We just don't. So instead, we kind of have to accept that we can't actually stop our opponent if they kill us on turn 3. And it's just not something we can do. And obviously, that's what's happening here. Pretty nutty. Oh, actually, not quite. Right? This has to sack. Well, same thing. They have the mana for it. Turn 3 kill. That's rough. But this is what I'm saying. We can't do anything about this. We either sideboard in 2 cards, or we have 3 Fae of Wishes that we can use to get there. And if our opponent does basically anything but this sort of, the turn 3 combo, we're probably okay. Hey, could we beat a turn 4 combo here? I mean, probably not. But look how good our hand was. This is wild. This Silver Smoke Golem was quite the combo piece. It's crazy. No matter how many dredge cards, they ban. The deck just doesn't go anywhere. All right. Do we have any hope here? No, we're just dead, right? I can go up to 11. Our opponent comes in for, only 21. So, yeah, we're dead. Well, not exactly how we wanted to start things off, but our opponent got to do some cool stuff. We got to win a game. It was honestly a great match, and what more can you ask for? Let's jump into the next one. All right, back at it. We're on the play this time against another Yorion deck. Well, I guess I'm in. We've got our mana. We've got some ramp. We've got a Teferi. That's a pretty good start, if you ask me. So this looks like the one we want to play first. Provides the green mana. The crucial green mana to this hand. It is, in fact, a different Yorion deck. Okay. Nice. Alright, well, we're a little Triome flooded here. But that's still alright, honestly, because we can, depending on what our opponent does here, and I gotta say, just the Temple of Enlightenment there. Well, I take that back. The second Inspector is actually pretty good because otherwise I could do something like play the Here's what I'm going to do. No, I'm going to think that, I want to play Teferi, but alternatively I could play like the Sylvan Caryatid, but I kind of want to just play Teferi and bounce one of these clues. The fact they played the second Inspector actually makes the decision easier for me. Okay, misclicked that. Didn't mean to do that. That's fine. We may end up wanting to cycle these anyways if we just draw lands. Now, obviously, I would have played one of them, but I think it'll be alright. Teferi's down. That's fine. That's one of the best uses of Teferi we were going to get. Especially since we have a second one if we actually want to try to stick it later. Yorion into hand. Okay, well, they want that value. All right, we have 4 mana to work with here. It's a little awkward on colors. This can cast exactly one thing, so I guess that's what we'll use it to cast. I could Teferi here again. I don't think it's that good. I'd rather just develop my mana. I'm pretty sure, and I guess I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure our deck is not afraid to go to the late game, to put it lightly. Yeah, sure, there's 30 lands, but we're talking Uro, we're talking all the greatest hits here. I don't think we have any issue. And so many of our cards just cycle like this. I don't think we have any issue just playing it through like this. And as a matter of fact, I kind of want to just put this Clifftop Retreat into play so that I can cycle this Triome at some point here. Yeah, this card's so cool. Watch what we can do here. We're going to play Teferi. We're going to plus it. Then we're just going to pass, I guess. I don't know if my opponent has counter magic, but I would assume they don't. They're a permanent deck, a Yorion Blink deck. Regardless, I could just do this now, but it deals X damage to each creature where X is the number of colors spent. So I can just go red, red, whatever, and deal 2. So I can take out the Thraben Inspectors, but not my Sylvan Caryatids. And honestly, I think I'm just going to do that now. You know, I don't know exactly if they... I don't know if they have counter magic or not, but right now they have a Yori... We don't really have that much gas. I don't want to really risk anything there. You know, let's let the game play out, see what happens. It's another Thraben Inspector. But we had the opportunity there. Take control of the board. Keep Teferi in play. This casket just did actual nothing, but for now anyways. But I just think this worked out pretty well for us all around. Now the question is, do I want to bounce? I almost certainly do. I'm going to bounce the, I guess the casket. Maybe I just Growth Spiral first. What would I want to get if I were to Fae of Wishes here? And do I even want to? You know, what if I just didn't put this land into play? I played a Sylvan Caryatid, a third one, and then I cycled the Triome. I kind of like that better. It gives us more mana next turn and another card, which is also relevant. And I'm just going to plus the Teferi again because I think it's safe to. This way we'll have another card to work with. And we'll be able to we'll not really be choked on mana. We can use the Fae of Wishes, the Granted, to go get whatever we want and probably cast it at the same time. So all our opponent is getting out of this is a Thraben Inspector Blink. It's not very strong. And, I mean, it is true. I'm going to probably bounce the Yorion, but we're kind of hoping to go over the top here, right? This is where we want to find an Uro or something, some Omnath, something really silly like that. Speaking of, I should probably hold land drops in case of Omnath. But you know what? There's my preview card, Escape to the Wilds. I'm in. I guess we just keep setting up. Why not, right? We get to play him until the end of our next turn? Great. Beautiful. Love it. Okay. Well, okay, so I already played one land, so I get one more here. And then I have 4 mana. So we're going to have a couple options. I probably just get the Breeding Pool. Seems like the mana we need the most. Alright, so I get to play those until next turn. We'll put that box away. We're not going to need it. And I guess we just bounced the Clue token. And there's another Teferi. Right? So who cares if Yorion takes out Teferi here? As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do the Granted while we can. I think we can figure out what we want here. Based on, you know, our opponent just playing Yorion. That's their best play. That seems perfectly reasonable for us. But this is also kind of a value setup here, right? I can just take the other Escape to the Wilds. Or the Felidar Retreat. Both of those are interesting. I'm going to grab the Escape to the Wild, so. And just have it for next turn. Because, look, our turn is probably sculpted anyway, right? We're going to play a land from our Exile pile, and then we're going to try to slam an Ugin down and see what happens. But we're set up to keep playing the game far beyond that as well, which is nice. So, and our opponent certainly has their own kind of value engines going on over there, but they're down to 4 cards in hand, although I have to say it. A second Yorion is pretty annoying. I think Ugin still cleans it up, but I could be wrong. This may be some kind of loop. We'll see. Sure, I guess they have one Yorion. The thing is, they still have to take out the one Yorion. Okay, well, we can play Ugin. That takes all our mana. We actually keep our blockers up. I could use it to minus, taking out really very little. But I can't let them keep getting this value either. I mean, I say this value. It's generating clue tokens is all, really. I mean, what if... I mean, but I still just play Ugin. The question is, I might end up plussing Ugin on the first one. Or, alternatively, we just do it all, right? Let's do it this way. Alright, let's play Teferi. Because I still have 8 mana after that. We'll play Teferi so our opponent can't do anything about it. They are still, but they're going to have multiple planeswalkers to have to care about, but this still works the way we want it to. And you know what? Hey, I can actually put one of these into my hand. So that we have something to play. Or a card to discard to Fae of Wishes, right? I think that's not unrelevant. If I go for the big minus, we lose Teferi here, but I think I'm going to plus the Ugin. Make them deal with it, right? We have multiple planeswalkers they have to care about. They have some value going on. But so do we. And we still have the Fae of Wishes. We can, we still have plenty of gas here. So I'm hoping to tax my opponent's resources here a little bit with these planeswalkers so that they commit to the board and then we save the Fae of Wishes later on for the other Ugin to come in and clean up. So all they can do is put this Ugin down to 5, which means they can still minus to take out the Yorion, which is huge. So, and now my opponent's gonna mess around with this Teferi. This is quite the value over there. I think it's all right. I think we just -5 this thing. Clear the board, play our Escape to the Wild, see what's up. That looks like some cards right there. Oh gosh. Alright, it begins. There's blue, white, green, red. Omnath! Here goes! Draw a card because why not? Play a land. Is this the one that makes mana? This is insane. Okay, let's do that. Pretty nutty, right? Look at all that mana. We'll use that mana to play this Uro. This is ridiculous. This should not be allowed. How is this even legal? Are you kidding me? We're just gonna keep comboing off over here. I could escape this thing if I wanted. Do I have enough for a Genesis Ultimatum? Almost. Gosh. Darn. Okay, well, I can play the Fae of Wishes and pick it up. That's probably going to be the best line here. That, or with my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana, I could just play another Escape to the Wilds. Have I already done damage? I think I already did damage. I'm just going to escape the Uro. It's got to be the best play, right? Green, blue, blue, green. That'll do it. We have enough. Okay, so let's exile some cards here. Don't think it matters too much. Get another Uro trigger, because why not? I had added green earlier. I could have actually, or blue even. I could have done more with this, but it's all right. I think that was quite the turn. Remember what I said about we just want to tax our opponent's resources a little bit, and then we'll come in over the top. We did it. We bought time with those cards. We did some silly, ridiculous things, and now our opponent, even though they can use the Skyclave apparition to get rid of whichever, they go for the Omnath. What are they going to do? We have Genesis Ultimatum to reload. They took care of both of our creatures. That's great, but look at our mana. Look at our hand. We still have access to a Fae of Wishes over in the sideboard. Come on. Oh, by the way, we've got 1 billion life. All right, let's cast a Genesis Ultimatum. What do you know? We hit some good cards. I'd like to put the Fae of Wishes into my hand. There we go. Yep, we'll pay the 2. Works for me. Alright, now what to play? This is silly. Is it the hardest part of this deck not decking out? Killing your opponent before you deck out? I guess so. I'm not going to go for the Fae of Wishes this turn. Just going to escape a Neuro, I think. We have anything left to grab? We don't. Okay, well, good to know. Green, green, blue, blue. Let's escape that thing. Yeah, seriously, the hardest part of this deck might be not decking out when you combo. Jeez, look at their... Not even comboing, it's just... It feels like a combo, it's just blue-green value these days, right? Well, I guess we'll cast this. I suppose I can't actually pick it up. I mean, it's kind of annoying, but whatever. We have another one. Okay, well, let's pass the turn. We've got 16 cards in our library. Let's keep that in mind. Our opponent was able to answer 2 of our cards, and I think we came out of the turn after they got rid of an Omnath and a Neuro. Probably better off than when we went in. Alright, you know what? Blinking the Skyclave Apparition to repeatedly exile Uros is a reasonable strategy, I have to say. It does leave us... I mean, in this case, it left us behind a 4-4 because it hit the Omnath. So, I mean, it's maybe not a winning strategy per se, but it's not the worst strategy. You know what? I can actually pay 2 here. And we can do all kinds of stuff. Alright, let's do this with 2 mana. Deal 2 to each creature. We get rid of the Charming Prince and the Apparition. It'll allow us to get in with the Illusion here. Make our opponent react at least. Okay. Alright, well let's move to combat then. Get in for 5. Alright, let's just go ahead and go for the Granted here. What do we want? I'm not too concerned about anything here. It's probably just Ugin. Yep, good enough for our opponent to throw in the towel. That was quite the game. Alright, we're against Blue-White Yorion, huh? I'd say our opponent didn't even want to play. You know what? I'm going to include that game anyways because that was 15 minutes of our deck doing whatever the heck it was supposed to do. And I am in a Pioneer League, everybody. This is not a 2-player queue where it doesn't matter. This is a Pioneer League someone lost because our deck popped off so hard. That's how you do it. Let's hop into another one. All right, we're on the play again. And I think getting hand with a turn 3 Omnath has to be a hand you keep in whatever format you're playing, whether it's Commander, a whole bunch of Omnaths you could play in that format. And I have seen the red-green one on turn 3, as a matter of fact. Or Pioneer Modern, or I guess not Standard anymore. Historic? This card's probably banned out of Historic by now, too. Either way, you get the idea. I'm pretty happy to have this thing on turn 3 here after the Caryatid. So, hitting lands, not exactly where we want to be. That said, this gives us all 3 of our colors, all 4 of our colors, with the forest joining. And then we have a Caryatid, which can actually block this thing, which might matter a little. Mono black aggro. Hopefully we don't get Thoughtseized on this turn in particular. Thoughtseized after this, probably cool with. Thoughtseized this turn, please no. They're attacking though. I'm gonna block. I guess. Maybe I'm not supposed to block. I don't know. I don't really know what they could have there that doesn't waste their whole turn. Yeah, okay. Okay. No surprises. Now, this is actually a bit of an option. I could just play the Omnath and get it killed to a Heartless Act or whatever. Or I can save it and go with the Fabled Passage and then whatever else. So I actually kind of think that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to play this Sylvan Caryatid. And I'm going to play this Hinterland Harbor, I think. So we're going to have white. We'll have our colors here. And I'm just going to pass the turn. I mean, I'm not going to be blocking the Gifted Aetherborn. But I guess this turn I'm not really blocking the Knight either. I don't think they'll be pumping it. I mean, they probably don't pump it even if I block, but this is my Omnath turn. I want to have my mana, so. Ooh, that is quite the start from them, though. All right, here goes. Green, blue, red, white. Omnath, get in there. Oh, that's a land. Okay, there's the life. I guess we go get in probably a forest here. I don't know if it matters that much, but maybe an island. Not forest. Okay. That gives us mana, which we use to cast a Growth Spiral, which we use to put a Fabled Passage into play. And this is when we get to deal damage to our opponent. Okay. So now I can cycle this thing. And we land on Teferi. Okay, well, that was certainly an Omnath turn, was it not? I don't know if it's actually going to be good enough to win us the game, though. It's not doing us that much good, but since I can get the mana off of it, I suppose I'll keep it. I'll just block here. I mean, taking 5 is not precisely where I want to be, but my opponent actually spends their entire turn doing it, so that's not so bad. We can bounce one of those or one of the Aetherborns or whatever with the Teferi now. We are going to need to draw some good cards, though. I guess it's the plains here. Okay, well, we do have plenty of life to work with thanks to Omnath. There's our mana. Alright, so that's enough to play Teferi here. Use Teferi to bounce one of these, because I want to keep them in Radiant Flame, whatever that card's called, Radiant Flame range for as long as possible. So now I'm going to cycle this Triome. Okay. Now I'm going to cast this Growth Spiral. And I would have put this Breeding Pool into play tapped. And deal 4 damage to our opponent. Wow. This deck does something, right? It does some stuff. Now, as it stands right now, unfortunately, that stuff is simply us, putting lands into play and so on. But sooner or later, we're just going to draw a big payoff here. A Genesis Ultimatum, an Ugin, a Fae of Wishes, something like that, right? And you know what? I'm actually chill here to block like this. They're sending all of this at... Yeah, I'll let them take out Teferi. That's fine. We'll trade Omnath and we'll just replay another Omnath and we'll draw a card out of the deal. We don't have any easy ways to trigger the extra landfall right now, but our life total is still a very healthy 20. All right, white, green, red, blue. Omnath, get in there. See what we hit. And there it is. That's the Radiant Flames we were looking for. Red. White. Green. 3 damage to each creature, please. Oh, no, wait. They can pump it. No! Alright, well. That changes things. I could take out 2 of them and then bounce it. I mean, it's still probably the play now that I think about it, but I'm glad I actually did stop to think about it for a second anyway. We'll deal 3 to each creature and we'll take out 1 of them. Plus the Aetherborn. I mean, this is still the line, right? Our opponent is left with 1 creature in play after this. We have an Omnath. And we have a Knight... I'm sorry, we have a Teferi next turn that can bounce things. So we also, by the way, get to gain some life here, or wherever we're at with this one. Oh, they have a Fatal Push. Okay. This game is far from over. We are at a healthy life total, but our opponent has a creature that they can start pumping mana into. And they have a Castle Locthwain, and they, you know, our life total is fine, but their life total is pretty high up there too. They can draw a lot of cards off of that thing. Wow, instead they actually just go for the huge hit. The 8-9 coming in. We are going to punish them a little bit, a lot bit with Teferi, but... Or with Genesis Ultimatum. Alright, that'll, I think, do it. Do we have exactly enough? We sure do. Genesis Ultimatum, please. I'm so glad I put this card in the deck. It's so much fun, is it not? I actually don't want to put the Ketria Triome into play. Would like that thing in my hand. Well, okay, I'll put 1 into play now. Alright, well, I guess we just pass. We're still at a very healthy life total. We still have all the options available to us next turn, including escaping an Uro. You know, as long as we're advancing our board state, I see why the deck plays 30 lands, right? You can tell. It just has things to do with its mana somehow every turn, all the time. You know, we are spending a lot of mana on each of our turns and somehow still finding ourselves in need of more mana. Alright, opponent goes for 1 pump. They do have us down to 13, though, and you can see why Mono Black is a good deck in itself, because look what we've done, but look at where they're hanging in there. You know, it's probably not going to be enough, but it's very good. I have 7 left after this. So if we hit an untapped land from this, I can play Ugin. We did not, but we did hit an Uro. Well, escape to the wilds plus Uro. I could just escape an Uro. Plus another Uro, yeah, I mean, that's probably the line. Just want to make sure I have the right colors to escape after. And this is going to pad our life total quite nicely as well. Alright, green, or blue, green, whatever, we'll get there one way or another. Alright, bring back the Uro. Imagine playing this deck in paper. Not the power level is of course the thing, but the dexterity. There's so many piles. There's a big graveyard pile you're playing out of. You've got escape to the wilds piles. You've got, you know what? I just want this thing in play now. I don't even need another card. You've got adventure piles. You've got your sideboard, which you're playing with thanks to Fae of Wishes. You've got your exile pile from the cards you've escaped. It's a little complicated. Is it not? Maybe playing this thing on Magic Online and Arena is for the best. That said, I don't really see this deck going away at all on paper. And as you can see, our opponent crushed underneath the flow of value. Frankly, I see no reason to change anything here. I mean, the Change of the Rocks I can probably put in the main deck over... I don't know. Our whole deck is just so clean, right? It's just 4 ofs and a couple 3 ofs. And I mean, one of the other versions I looked at had Radiant Flames and the Fae of Wishes of 4 of, but I like these. I like having the big ramp targets, the big payoffs. That's just way more fun, right? We do need to cut something, though, if we want to bring this in. It's certainly not going to be a Radiant Flames. It might be like an Escape to the Wilds. We still have... I mean, the thing is, putting it in our sideboard just means it's a Fae of Wishes away. It doesn't even mean we won't get to go through them. Some decks have Yorion and get to play 80 cards. Well, we get to play 75, thanks to the Fae of Wishes. Alright, our opponent has returned, and you know what? The MTGO Shuffler decided to reward us with an insane hand. We're going to play this Stomping Ground on turn 1. We're going to play this Growth Spiral on turn 2. And we're going to have fun. Okay, I'll say that in Yash. It gets even better. Does it, actually? I mean, this doesn't give me green mana. Honestly, no, I'm probably not even going to play it because I can do it this way. I don't telegraph anything. Maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't. Telegraph anything by shocking in a land on turn 2. And frankly, we may not need to. Now, Agonizing Remorse out of my opponent here is a really good one. I've been playing a lot of Historic, and I've been playing the heck out of Agonizing Remorse, specifically to do what my opponent just did, which is to exile Uros before they get any value out of it. Not a little value, not the front end, or you know, you prevent the escape, and you exile when it comes into play. No, you get that thing out of there immediately. Now, looks like we're also going to lose our Fae of Wishes here. This is fine. This is why Growth Spiral is so good, because it's a ramp spell. Our opponent's going to poke us for 2. It's a ramp spell, but it also protects. It protects, but it sort of gives you some redraws against discard decks, and it sort of hides that draw until later on while still being a ramp spell. I mean, look, I know I don't need to explain why Growth Spiral is so ridiculous, but it really, really is. That said, let's figure out what we want to do here. Go ahead, and I'm just going to Growth Spiral on the main phase this time, so we can figure this out. And this actually sets us up perfectly. I mean, also look at this. Our opponent went Agonizing Remorse, Thoughtseize. Okay? That's very good if you're a mono black deck. They only have so many pieces of disruption, and our opponent had 2 of them in the first 2 turns. And yet, we're going to resolve an Omnath and get value out of it. Blue, white, red, green, play an Omnath. And you know what's crazy? Is I was going to say, I don't even need to do anything with this. I don't need the mana. I don't have any use for the mana. But that's not even true, because we drew a Ketria Triome off it, because it draws you a card. So you just always have something to use that mana on. It's so nutty. It's just nutty. All right, we'll keep open a Growth Spiral here. All right. We didn't hit it, but we got through some cards. Omnath will probably bite the dust, but now we're sort of slowly, inexorably ticking our way up to Ugin. And Champion of Dust is cool. Our opponent must be on the Vampires variant. Draw X, lose X. X number of vampires you control. Unfortunately for our opponent, though, they basically lost the game because we have an Omnath in play that we untapped with, and also we now get to use that Fabled Passage to play out an Ugin. Let's see where we end up with on mana after I click all this. Oh. I actually need to play the Uro first. In this one particular circumstance, I need to get that other land. Okay. I'm gonna have to unclick a lot here. Okay. Play this thing instead. And of course, by the way, we get 4 damage out of Uro, because why not, of course. And now I believe we have enough to play this Omnath. I'm sorry, Ugin. Yep. Just going to plus the Ugin on their face, put them to 9, and pass the turn. Now, I guess I could have attacked, but yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to block. I'd rather just keep my Omnath and play, frankly. So here's the thing. You look at the board. Our opponent has 5 cards in hand. We have 2. And we know one of them's a land. In theory, our opponent isn't, they've got us almost out of cards. If they could answer the Ugin, Murderous Rider the Ugin, maybe you've got us, right? But the one card left is 3 cards. There's the Uro in the graveyard. It just never runs out of resources. I can't believe they printed all these cards in quick succession. And this one hit under the radar. We didn't even think this was going to be a playable card in Standard. We were like, yeah, it's kind of cool in Commander. 5 is a ton. You're going to play to your next turn, but it kind of felt like, there's a 5-mana Simic card that's like put an extra land into play, draw 3 or something. And it kind of felt like a similar version of that. But you know what? It turns out it hits the sweet spot. It's all Growth Spiral based, but Uro certainly helped. Our opponent said, nice games and thanks for waiting in chat. They just fell to the value. This deck is ridiculous, everybody. And you know what? I have to say, many, many years I've spent struggling against these powerhouse decks. It did kind of feel nice to pick one up and play it. But I only did it for the memes. It's a 30-land deck. How could I ever pass that up? I just couldn't. We did the no-land deck, or the basically no-land deck with the Balustrade Spy deck a month or so ago. We had to go the other direction to play all we could. Everybody, if you're in the United States, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, that you celebrate safely, however you choose to celebrate. If you're everywhere else, I hope you have a great Thursday. I'll see you next time.